What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Tevin McGee, and we're going to be doing something a little bit different for the next few weeks. We're going to be starting a mini series called Voicing the Silence. As everyone knows, the state of the world is just crazy right now. Protests, the unfortunate passing of George Floyd, uh, police brutality, rioting, looting. It's just crazy. If you don't know me personally, I am a black man. I'm a black man with a podcast. So I want to use my platform to bring awareness to this subject. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be talking with black business owners, black leaders, black everyday people. And I want to get the perspective from the people that know the situation the best, the people that have to go through this racism. And I want it to be a guide for people who aren't black that listen to this, and you can kind of just see what we go through on a daily basis. I'm based in Arkansas, so I'm in the South. I've been seeing racism from a very early age. I don't think it's made me resentful towards people. It just makes me sad. Racism just makes me sad. If you know me, I'm a really outgoing, friendly person, and I love all types of people. So I just want to share a few stories over the course of my life where I've dealt with racism, and it kind of stuck with me in a way. It kind of made me a little bit more hyper aware. These aren't in any particular order, so I'll just start with the ones that come to me first. Okay, so about a year and a half ago, I was approached by a man, and he wanted me to go speak at a local intermediate center. My local intermediate center. It's right down the street from my house. I went there as a kid, and it was like career day. So they're like, Tevin, would you be interested in coming to talk a little bit about your job, what you do to the kids? I think they would really appreciate it. So I'm stoked. I don't ever get picked for these type of things. I'm like, man, someone thought of me to go speak to some kids. Like, this is it. Like, this is a great opportunity to do some good in the community. It's a school I went to. I'm excited. But my excitement quickly fell when he preferenced a statement right after he asked me. And he was like, yeah, it'll be good for them to see somebody that looks like them doing good. And that really perplexed me for a moment. So I'm like, so this is an all black school, which I don't understand. That doesn't matter. And one of the only reasons that you reached out to me is because I'm a black man that has a job, has a steady life. So I mean, that really kind of took me back a little bit, and it was a scheduling conflict, and I didn't end up getting to do the speaking, but it was really interesting because I really thought that they valued me as a person, when really they were just trying to make the group of people that spoke to these kids more diverse. And I was just happened to be one of the only black people there. So I don't know, that kind of stuck with me a little bit, that there was like an agenda behind it. It wasn't Tevin the person that they were after. It was Tevin the black man. Oh, he's a good black man. I mean, he didn't say these things to me, but that's just how I felt about it. I can remember another story when I was in junior high. So I was really into basketball. I played basketball from, fifth grade all through high school. Loved basketball. So naturally, my best friends were the guys on the basketball team. So, like I said, I'm not going to say any names or anything, but a started a genuine friendship with a few guys on the team. And junior high is that awkward stage where you really don't know where to sit, who your friends are gonna be. You just moved up from middle school. This is the first year with no recess. So my natural instinct is to go over to one of my friends and sit down at the table with them. So I get my lunch, I walk over to the table, and I sit down. And the very first thing he says to me is, Tevin, what are you doing here? This is the white boy table. And that just kind of shook me because I never really thought of him as just like a white person and I was a black person. So I sat there for that day and I moved tables. I moved tables because it really was like I was taken back by how big of a deal it was for us to be different skin colors. So I started sitting at a table by myself. Well, another guy that was on the team, he started sitting with me. And before you know it, we started our own basketball guys table full of, white, black, whoever people. And the guy that originally said that to me, he was at the table with us. And I'm not trying to call him like a racist or anything. It's just different, you know. Um, Obviously, I don't think he would have said that if I was white. But the fact that that difference was enough for him to say that immediately as I sat down, not, hey, Tevin, what do you think we're going to be doing in practice? And this guy's still a really good friend of mine today. It was just a moment in time that I will always remember. Another moment was I was even younger than this. I think I was about fifth grade. Fifth grade, it's that awkward stage where you're old enough to stay with people and you're old enough to be able to call home if it doesn't work out. So, two of my white classmates that I hung out with back then, and friends change. So, we didn't end up being friends after, sixth, seventh grade or whatever. But, it was no reason behind it, just different interests, that type of thing. So I'm staying the night at two of my white buddies' house. And we're over there, and they are introducing me to new things. Cold pizza was one of them. I had never had cold pizza. I mean, honestly, I still don't like cold pizza. But they had cold pizza for breakfast. We stayed up. We played outside. We did so many things. But one of the highlights of this sleepover was we were going to talk about girls. So this was like, one of the first few years that girls didn't have cooties, and that we thought girls were attractive. We were like, which girls do you like was the thing back then. I don't know what kids are saying now, but we just said which girls do you like. So we started naming off all of these attractive girls, or as attractive as you can be in fifth, sixth grade. The girls that were nice to you, the girls that gave you some of their candy, that type of thing. And they were naming off their list. They were like, yeah, I think this girl is attractive. I think this girl is attractive. And I'm thinking in my head, yeah, when I get to my list, it's pretty much just gonna be like their list. So they get to me, and before I could even open my mouth, they say, well, Keisha is a good girl for you, and I'm not using anyone's real name. Or, Shantae is a good girl for you. And let me just set the stage here for you guys. Those were the only two black girls in the entire grade. So it just really took me back that immediately they thought that my only two options were the two black girls in our class. So I don't really remember how the rest of the conversation went. I don't know if I spoke up and was like, no, I think, Amber's cute. I'm like, y'all, I think, Amber's cute. But that stuck with me to the fact that these kids were getting raised to think black people stayed with black people and white people stayed with white people. And it was just really interesting to me. And shout out to my parents because I never thought that way. My parents always told me it didn't matter what color skin a person had, that it mattered what was on the inside. What is are they? Do they have good integrity? Are they nice to you? Do they look out for you? Do they have your back? Are they dependable? Are they hard workers? Do they push you in school? Those type of things are the blueprint of what I look for in a good friend and a good partner. They never told me that to look out for racism or that you're going to be treated a certain way because you're a black. These are just some of the things that I encountered as I was going throughout high school and junior high and middle school and all of the things in between. So as we got to high school, um, it was a little bit more diverse than it had been from fourth grade. So fourth grade to about sixth grade, there was maybe four black people in the entire school. I went to Nettleton Public Schools here in Jonesboro, and like I said, there was nothing wrong with that. I had no problem with that. I didn't feel uncomfortable that the majority of my classmates were white. I just thought people were people. I truly never thought anything else. So when we get to high school, is the first time that people are actually getting serious girlfriends, or they're into, or as serious as high school could be. And I just remember that when the first interracial couple came on the scene, it was a big deal. This is 2008, 2009. It's a big deal for people to be in an interracial relationship. You know, um, like I said, without naming names, I remember distinctly. One of my buddies was the black guy that was in this relationship, and he had to go through a lot of turmoil for his girlfriend's parents, and what people were thinking. And like this was like a hot topic, like who's dating. I feel like is always going to be a hot topic, but it was only because who's dating a black guy. There's a connotation behind who's intermingling races, and that's just something that I honestly feel won't ever go away, which is sad. Because after high school, I didn't really date anyone seriously in high school. I ended up finding my wife. My wife is a white woman, and just being in that relationship and going through the what will people think conversations and just the uncomfortable talks and different things. It's crazy to me that there's like a whole world of people that think that my family, my interracial blended family, is not okay, and I'm not okay with that. So last story, I remember being somewhere with a few of my friends, and I want to say we were in Memphis, Tennessee. Okay, so I really don't know much about the geographical layout of Memphis, but I do know we had to go to Walmart for a reason. I don't know which Walmart it was. We were at Walmart, so we're walking in. Let's say there's a group of four of us. I'm the only black person in this group. There's a lot of black people in the store. I don't know what area we were, but I mean, it seemed like in this particular Walmart, the black people were the majority. So we're walking around. I'm still not thinking anything of it, but I can just see that the people that I'm with are getting a little bit tense. They're a little bit more on edge. And, we go to check out and get whatever we're there to get, and so far, so on and so forth. This has been a few years back now. And they looked to me and they said, Tevin, we're sure glad you came with us because we'd probably be in trouble if you weren't here. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what does that even mean? What do you mean you'd be in trouble? Like, yeah, well, we'd probably be in trouble if we didn't have a black guy with us. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so this is a very one-off situation in which you are going to be the minority. This is going to be the only situation where you guys are the only white people in the room. and you were so uncomfortable, so tense that you had to acknowledge the fact that I was with you made you feel more at ease, I guess, even though I'm a black person too. Do you think that about me? That do you think that that I mean, do I make you uncomfortable? Is I guess what I'm trying to say. Because there's I don't think I could go a week without going into a room somewhere there's all white people, and there's nothing I can do about it. But at the same time, I don't understand like this kind of stereotypical fear of being around people that are black. So I know I said a lot of stories about my childhood and adolescence growing up, but these are just some of the things that I want to talk about. Um, my wife published a blog post, and I'll put a link to the blog post in the show notes. And we kind of break down some of these things a little bit more, some of the terms. Some of them include "you're basically white." So basically, if for those of you who aren't familiar with the term, which a lot of you probably are, that's mean when that's supposed to be a compliment from a white person that they give a black person that is acting white. By acting white, that means you clean up very nicely. You have a nice smile. You talk with proper grammar. You don't sag. Things like that. And that was a term that was used a lot around me and the people that I associated with. You're basically white. You act white. You're not black. You're not black. I mean, you're basically like me. And that stereotype of white is good and black is bad, that's something that just needs to be just ended. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen without the help of every single person standing up, talking about these uncomfortable situations. So, yeah, that's just one of the things that are on there. You know, from my wife's perspective, you know, white girls get a certain kind of reputation if they associate with, date, or marry a black man. That's not right either. Why would you brand her with some kind of scarlet A because we're in a relationship together? You know, why do I have to feel some type of way about going in certain parts of my state? Because there are people out there that still have hatred in their heart for people who have black skin, brown skin. I just don't understand it. You are completely ruling out an entire group of people because they were born African American. I have been denied like a chance with many people, you know, that from a relational standpoint, women, or just a friendship standpoint, you know, with fellow males because I'm black. And it's just crazy to me that something as extreme as what happened to George Floyd, that's the catalyst that gets people talking about these uncomfortable situations. It takes riots and looting and a blackout day on Instagram and Facebook and just social media in general to get people talking about things that are uncomfortable. So, like I said at the beginning of the show, this is going to be a mini series going forward. I don't know how many weeks it's going to be, but I think it's just the right thing to do. It's what I want to do, to take a break from the regularly scheduled programming and to talk about this stuff, to open up, to interview people, to get people's perspective of what it's like being black. What are the major differences? Because they're there. White privilege is very real. I have one more story for you before we go. So, I'm pretty plugged in to one of the churches in my local town. I'm a member. Me and my wife go there. We're raising our kids up in the church. This church is just particularly like, I mean, I don't know how else to say it. It's predominantly white church. I don't have a problem with that. The pastor and everyone there is great. It just happens to be majority white. Well, I had a friend. She's a single mom. I invite her to church. I invite her to church and I tell her, like, this is a great place. These people, they get it. They've always been super nice to me, super nice to Destiny, super nice to the girls. You know, bring your child and come and worship with us, and it's gonna be great. That was the only time that she came to service, and I'm not saying anything bad about my church at all because I love the community. I love everyone that's associated with this church. But she told me that she wasn't going to come back because she felt like that the warm, welcoming environment that she had experienced, it wasn't there. She felt like no one talked to her, no one reached out to her, that she was sitting alone, even though it doesn't take much to realize that she's a guest there. So even in, you know, it doesn't matter what situation it is, there are opportunities to do better. And that's what I want to focus on. What can we all do as as a community, as a city, as a state, as a nation? What can we all do to move this tragedy, these unfortunate events back towards something positive? So that's what we're going to be doing. Might be 4 weeks, might be 6 weeks, might be longer. But we're going to have a conversation. We are going to use this platform for good. We are going to make sure people are aware of some of the things that might be offending people that you might not previously thought was offending people. So if you have anybody out there that would like to be a guest that on the show in the next few weeks, that white or black, if you're a white person and you have a unique perspective, I want to hear about it. I think we benefit from a black perspective and a white perspective on all of these issues. I know you don't know what it's like to be black, but you do know what it's like to be white. So what can we do? So this has been another episode of The Clever Angle. The mini-series will start next Thursday. So there will be a post out on social media, and if you want to talk, we're here. We're ready. And we're going to make a difference for the good. Everybody have a blessed day, and peace.